What are subtle red flags at a job interview that say, working here would suck? Well, the overtime isn't mandatory, but most folks stick around after hours most days. Spoilers. The overtime is mandatory. Fantastic. You should know that if you choose me for this position, I will be declining the optional overtime. I mean, if you're going to walk anyway, it might be funny to call their bluff. My wife actually did this on her interview about working on some Saturdays. She politely refused on grounds of traveling time but obliged to chip in from home if a client needed something urgently. She got the job. I was once part of a group onboarding for an IT job. They handed us all the one-page new hire contract, and everyone except me signed immediately. When I read the paperwork, I discovered we were signing a mystery document. Clauses included, I agree to abide by the personal search and seizure security policy attached. Without other pages, there was no way to determine what I was agreeing to. I kept requesting more and more pages until the HR drone said, okay, I guess me is just determined to hold everyone up. We will handle you separately if you're struggling so much. After I walked out and drove home, I called the hiring manager to apologize for not taking the job. He informed me that HR reported I had walked out after refusing to be drug tested. I was asked to sign a contract that gave the employer full access to my medical records. It was supposedly for drug testing, but worded badly. I signed every other page, and got the job. Would have been very interesting if they felt like drug testing me, and they weren't able to. Without my informed consent, it would be illegal. The document was worded so that they could have had full, unrestricted access to all medical records, prescriptions, diagnoses, sexual health, everything. I spoke to the HR manager about it. Her take was that they would never use it like that, only for drug tests. I was non-committal about that, but still didn't sign it, didn't make a fuss, but no signature. I met an industrial relations lawyer by chance later, who lolled. He said that you should never sign anything you are not comfortable with, and in Australia at least, you would be fully protected by law from any dismissal, punitive action. Nowadays, I don't sign a performance review until I have had time to read it, and seek expert opinion if I want. This is my right in law. Last job I worked. Yay, everyone here is new, but it's totally because of COVID. The boss doesn't like people going out to get lunch because they're afraid you'll never come back, so being your own lunch. You'll get weird looks if you leave on time. It was a Chinese-owned company with heavy Chinese work culture influence, so you were expected to stay overtime all week. Also, the people here are nice but it's pretty stressful. Ada also was told by my trainer, you want to know the best advice I can give you? Find another job. This was like my second week in. They're afraid you'll never come back, is so funny to me, tears of joy. Lol, my fiance is about to start a new position but in the same company, and she was talking to her boss letting him know that our wedding is coming up so we will need to take some vacation pretty soon into it, and he goes, great. I love vacation. I like to say you can always go as long as you come back. I had a job once, supposedly a receptionist, but there were so many other tasks involved where we had 18 temps in 30 days. The guys started calling them temps du jour. They would come in and I would spend a morning showing them my job to give them an overview of what I did. Some clients who watched me work used to call me Octopus Woman because of all the multitasking. When I said we could start training in the afternoon, they would all say they were impressed, scared, and most would not come back after lunch. The few who did come back were absolutely awesome, and I appreciated them immensely for all the help, skill, dedication, hard work, and loyalty they provided. This was over 20 years ago and they are still my friends. Was interviewed by a senior programmer and the department head. The department head was continuously making condescending remarks towards the other interviewer. Poor guy just sounded broken. Hope he's somewhere else now. On a second interview, the general manager brought me into the conference room with his 8 managers present. At first I thought it was a meet and greet, but no, they grilled me for an hour and a half. Didn't appreciate that along with a couple other things and politely withdrew from being considered. Couple months later I'm playing in a ball tournament and come across one of the managers. I mentioned how weird that interview was. He says, weird for you. Ha. I found out then and there you were being interviewed for my job. Yep. Dodged a bullet there. This actually happened to me. Interviewer, do you have any questions for us? Me, what is a challenge this department has recently faced? Interviewer, job security. LMAO, gotta give them props for honesty at that point. He should have just gotten up and opened the door and gestured out. Dude probably about to quit and was like, better save this guy before I dip. A true homie. I interviewed at a place. As part of my working interview, I was with two of the people I would be working closely with. Both said they loved the company and would be staying on long term. There were no cameras, boss wasn't listening nearby, so no reason to lie. They were both gone within 6 months. I am still bitter about it. If you're a ruthless manipulator with another source of financial stability, then you can move up, but you have to be insightful enough to find the right people who lack critical thinking to realize your game, and charismatic enough to get them to stay under you, yet detached and uncaring enough to not care that you're probably ruining their lives and are definitely lying to them. After that, it's a numbers game. If you find 800 people, but only 1% are financially secure enough to stay on longer than a few months, then it'll begin to add up as long as you can keep your middleman workers happy through the utter exploitation of the young desperate grunts to work short stints under them. You also have to be willing to put in 70 to 90-hour work weeks to actually pull it off and keep up with the recruiting and lies to new workers and the marketing and upselling to your clients. Most people can tolerate some degree of this and move up accordingly, but there are people with limits or complete lack of understanding, and they're the ones who fill in the middle links in the chain. It really is possible, but it's gonna absorb your entire life and ruin a lot of other people's while stroking the egos of those who really don't need the job and are doing it to pass the time. There's a reason they're always run like cults. They have to be, otherwise they will crumble and fall. To answer your question, there are several people who live on 7 and 8 figures through MLM. They aren't as plenteous as the recruiters lead you to believe. Here's the largest one I know off's Wikipedia page. I left a company that could be traced to one of the head officers of this group. Web links. If you can see the floor before the interview, you can sometimes get a vibe about the place. I once went to interview for a sales position. Aside from the interviewer being 30 minutes late, it did allow me to sit and observe the situation. I realized pretty quickly this was not going to be the place for me. Very quiet except a handful of people on the phones cold calling. Many reps trying to push for contacts on the other end, just painful to listen to. And when they'd hang up, there wasn't really any interaction with co-workers. Just quiet, and then another call. It all seemed very tense. I noped out of there real quick after the 5 minutes the interview took. Dodged a bullet. I had interviewed for a call center job at another place that's as a complete 180 from that. Yes, it's a call center job, so it is what it is, but there was laughter on the floor, people talking to floor managers, just a completely different vibe that was more inviting. I had the opposite experience from your first one. Interviewed for a call center, thinking I'd probably either just not take it at all because I imagined it would be really draining, or just do it for a couple of weeks until I found something better. But then decided to stay because everyone seemed really nice and chill about the whole deal. Still working there, and probably gonna stay until I'm done with uni.